What happens when one of Britain's most beloved actors walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a friendly chat and instead gets ambushed by a host who seems determined to tear him down? In just 26 seconds of one cutting remark, a legendary career collides with a television personality's ego, and what unfolds is one of the most shocking exits in British television history. The studio lights are bright, the audience is settled, and Michael Caine sits comfortably on the famous Loose Women couch. He's here to talk about his latest film, his incredible career spanning decades, and maybe share a few charming stories that have made him a national treasure. The panel today consists of Denise Welch, Nadia Sawalha, Kay Adams, and Jane Moore. The atmosphere starts pleasantly enough. Denise Welch leans forward with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. So, Michael, lovely to have you here. I've got to ask though, and I think everyone's wondering this, do you ever feel like your time has passed? Like maybe it's time to let the younger generation take over? There's an audible gasp from the audience. Nadia Sawalha shifts uncomfortably in her seat, her eyes widening. Michael Caine, ever the professional, chuckles softly. Well, Denise, I think there's always room for experience and youth in this industry. I don't see it as a competition, he says warmly. But Denise isn't finished. She waves her hand dismissively. No, but seriously, when I watch your recent films, I can't help but think, is this really necessary? We've seen it all before from you. Jane Moore shifts forward, clearly uncomfortable. I don't think that's a fair assessment, Denise. Fair? Denise turns to Jane. I'm just being honest. Isn't that what we're supposed to do on this show? Michael maintains his composure. I understand you want to have an honest conversation, Denise. I'm happy to discuss my career choices. Are you, though? Denise challenges. Because it seems like you're just going through the motions at this point. Another film, another interview, another paycheck. Kay Adams jumps in quickly, trying to redirect. Michael, your new film has been getting wonderful reviews. Can you tell us about working with the director? Michael nods graciously. Thank you, Kay. Yes, it was a marvelous experience. The director really understood the character's journey, and we spent weeks discussing the emotional beats. It's actually quite a departure from what people might expect. A departure? Denise interrupts, her tone dripping with skepticism. I read the synopsis. Sounds exactly like every other film you've done in the past 20 years. Nadia jumps in. Denise, have you actually seen the film? I don't need to see it to know what it is, Denise retorts. I've seen enough Michael Caine films to last a lifetime. Michael's smile tightens slightly. Well, that's your prerogative, Denise. But perhaps it's unfair to judge something you haven't experienced. Unfair? Denise laughs. What's unfair is actors like you taking roles that could go to fresh talent. What's unfair is the industry's obsession with the same old faces. Kay tries again. Michael has earned his place in the industry through decades of exceptional work. Has he, though? Denise challenges. Or has he just been in the right place at the right time? A man, white, British, with the right connections? The audience murmurs grow louder. Jane Moore looks absolutely appalled. Michael takes a breath before responding. I've worked very hard to get where I am. I started with nothing, Denise. Absolutely nothing. Oh, here comes the sob story, Denise says, rolling her eyes. It's not a sob story, Michael replies, his voice firm but controlled. It's my life. I'm simply stating facts. Denise cuts him off. But isn't it just another gangster film? Another Cockney accent? I mean, how many times can you play the same character? Jane Moore looks mortified. Denise, that's not really fair. Michael has had one of the most diverse careers in cinema. He's done drama, comedy, action, thrillers. Has he, though? Denise challenges, her voice rising slightly. Or has he just been coasting on his reputation for the last 30 years? Living off past glory? Nadia sits up straighter. That's completely out of line, Denise. Is it? Denise fires back. Or is it the truth that nobody wants to say out loud? The audience is silent now, the tension palpable. Michael Caine's expression remains calm, but there's a tightness around his eyes. I think my body of work speaks for itself, Denise. I've been fortunate to work with incredible directors and tell stories that matter to people. That's all any actor can hope for. Denise laughs, a sharp, brittle sound. Stories that matter? Really? Or just paychecks that matter? Let's be honest here, Michael. You take any role that comes your way now, don't you? That's not true, Michael responds, his voice measured. I'm selective about the projects I choose. Selective? Denise scoffs. You were in Jaws, The Revenge. How selective is that? Kay Adams looks horrified. Denise, that was decades ago. Everyone makes choices they might regret. Exactly my point, Denise says triumphantly. He's been making questionable choices for years, yet here he is, still being celebrated, still taking up space. Nadia Sawala actually stands up slightly, her hands raised. Okay, wait, Denise, this is getting out of hand. Michael is our guest. We invited him here. And as our guest, he should be able to handle some honest questions. Denise snaps back. I'm tired of this industry treating these old guard actors like they're untouchable. They're not special. They're not above criticism. There's criticism and then there's rudeness, Jane interjects. You've crossed into rudeness. Denise whirls on Jane. Oh, so now I'm rude for speaking my mind? For not fawning all over him like everyone else? Does? Michael Caine sits up straighter. I've never claimed to be special, Denise. I've simply worked hard my entire life. I've tried to do good work, to be professional, to treat people with respect. Respect? Denise's laugh is bitter. That's rich coming from someone who's part of an industry that's shown no respect to women, to minorities, to anyone who doesn't fit the mold. And you think attacking me is going to change that? Michael asks, his voice quiet but firm. I'm not attacking you, Denise insists. I'm holding you accountable. Kay shakes her head. Accountable for what exactly? For having a successful career? For being talented? For being complicit, Denise says. For benefiting from a broken system and doing nothing to change it. Michael Caine sits up straighter. I've never claimed to be special, Denise. I've simply worked hard my entire life. Worked hard? Denise's voice drips with sarcasm. You've had everything handed to you. You're a white man in an industry that worships white men. Let's not pretend you've struggled. The audience erupts in uncomfortable murmurs. Kay Adams tries again. Denise, I really think we should move on to another topic. But Denise is on a roll now, her face flushed. No, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about how men like Michael take up all the space, all the opportunities, while talented young actors, women, people of color, they can't get a foot in the door. Michael Caine's voice is measured, but firm. I've spent my career supporting young talent. I've mentored countless actors. I've used whatever platform I have to speak up about issues in the industry. This characterization is simply not accurate, and frankly, it's unfair. Oh, here we go, Denise says, rolling her eyes dramatically. The I have a diverse friend defense. The I've mentored people excuse. Classic deflection. Jane Moore interjects sharply. It's not deflection, Denise. It's the truth. I've seen Michael support young actors. I've heard the stories. Stories, Denise repeats mockingly. Everyone has stories. But what about action? Real, tangible action? Michael leans forward. What exactly would you have me do, Denise? What action would satisfy you? I'd have you acknowledge your privilege, Denise says. I'd have you admit that you've had advantages others haven't had. I've never denied that, Michael replies. But privilege doesn't negate hard work. It doesn't erase the years of struggle, the rejections, the failures. Denise waves this away. Everyone struggles, but not everyone gets the opportunities you've gotten. Nadia cuts in. This is going in circles. Denise, what's your actual point here? My point, Denise says, her voice rising, is that we need to stop giving endless praise to men who've had every advantage and start making room for people who actually need the platform. Jane Moore interjects sharply. Denise, you're being incredibly rude. This is unacceptable. We don't treat our guests like this. Rude. I'm being honest, Denise fires back, her face flushed. Something this show is supposed to be about. Or are we only honest when it's safe? When it doesn't upset the precious male guests? When it doesn't ruffle any feathers? There's being honest, and there's being hostile, Kay says firmly. And right now, you're being hostile. Denise's voice goes up another notch. I'm being hostile. For asking questions that need to be asked. For not playing along with the charade. What charade? Michael asks, genuinely seeming to want to understand. The charade that everything's fine, Denise snaps. That the industry is fair, that talent alone matters, that we should all just be grateful for the crumbs we're given. Michael shakes his head slowly. I never said any of those things. You're putting words in my mouth. Am I? Denise challenges. Or am I just saying out loud what you've implied your whole career? Nadia Sawalha shakes her head, in disbelief. Denise, you're not even making sense anymore. You're just attacking him for the sake of it. I'm making perfect sense, Denise insists. I'm saying that maybe, just maybe, we should question why we celebrate the same people over and over while ignoring fresh voices, new perspectives. By insulting those people, Jane asks incredulously, by tearing them down on live television. How does that help anyone? Nadia Sawalha shakes her head. This isn't honesty, Denise. This is an attack. Michael Caine speaks quietly. I came here in good faith, to have a conversation about my work. I didn't come here to be insulted. I didn't come here to be made an example of. Denise leans back in her chair, arms crossed. If you feel insulted by the truth, maybe that says more about you than it does about me. The truth? Michael's voice hardens just slightly. The truth is that you've decided to use this platform to grandstand rather than have a genuine conversation. You had an agenda when I walked in here, and nothing I could say was going to change that. Grandstand? Denise's voice goes up an octave. I'm asking legitimate questions that your publicist probably screens out of every other interview. Questions that people at home are probably thinking, but nobody has the guts to ask. Kay Adams tries once more, desperation creeping into her voice. Can we please just talk about the film? Michael, the reviews have specifically praised your performance as being different from your previous work. The Guardian called it your best work in years. Michael turns to her gratefully, relief washing over his face at the lifeline. Yes, thank you, Kay. This character is actually quite vulnerable, quite different from roles people might associate me with. He's dealing with loss, with regret, with the weight of choices made long ago. It was emotionally demanding. Vulnerable? Denise interjects again, unable to help herself. That's hilarious. Do you even know what vulnerability is? You've lived a charmed life. You've never had to worry about anything. Michael's jaw tightens. A charmed life? I grew up in poverty, Denise. Real poverty. I worked my way up from nothing. From absolutely nothing. Oh, please, Denise waves this away dismissively. The rags to riches story. How original. Everyone's heard it 1,000 times. That doesn't make it less true, Michael replies, his voice steady despite the clear frustration. Just because it's been told before doesn't mean it didn't happen to me. Denise leans forward aggressively. You know what's not charming? Your generation holding on to power and refusing to step aside, refusing to make room. Jane Moore stands up, her face red with anger and embarrassment. Denise, stop. Just stop. This is beyond inappropriate now. You're embarrassing all of us. Why should I stop? Denise demands, her voice shrill. Because it makes everyone uncomfortable? Good. Maybe we should be uncomfortable. Maybe that's exactly what we need. Uncomfortable is one thing, Jane shoots back. What you're doing is something else entirely. This is cruelty dressed up as honesty. Michael Caine looks at her for a long moment. What exactly do you want from me, Denise? I want you to admit that you're overstaying your welcome in an industry that's moved past you, Denise says bluntly. The audience gasps again, louder this time. Nadia Sawalha puts her head in her hands. Michael Caine stands up slowly, with dignity. I don't think I will be doing that, he says calmly. What I will be doing is leaving. Denise laughs incredulously. You're leaving? Because I asked you a tough question? No, Michael says, removing his microphone. I'm leaving because this isn't an interview. It's an ambush, and I don't participate in ambushes. Kay Adams stands as well. Michael, please, I apologize for this. You have nothing to apologize for, Kay, Michael says kindly. You've been nothing but professional. Denise stands now too, her face red. This is typical. A man can't handle a strong woman challenging him, so he runs away. Michael Caine turns to face her directly. This has nothing to do with you being a woman, Denise. This has to do with you being disrespectful. There's a difference between being strong and being cruel. Cruel? Denise's voice is shrill now. I'm cruel? For asking questions? For trying to humiliate a guest on your show, Michael replies. For using your platform not to have a discussion, but to tear someone down. That's not journalism. That's not even entertainment. It's just mean. Jane Moore nods vigorously. He's absolutely right. Denise whirls on Jane. Oh, so now you're all ganging up on me. No one's ganging up on you, Nadia says firmly. But you crossed a line. Multiple lines. The producers are visible now at the edge of the stage, clearly uncertain what to do. The audience is completely silent, watching this unfold like a car. Crash they can't look away from. Denise points at Michael. You can't just walk off a live show. Watch me, Michael says simply. This is ridiculous, Denise sputters. You're being childish. Michael pauses at the edge of the stage area. Denise, I've been in this industry for over 60 years. I've dealt with difficult directors, demanding producers, harsh critics. I've handled all of it with professionalism. What I won't handle is someone who invites me as a guest and then treats me like an enemy. You wanted to make a point today, and you've made it. The point is that you're more interested in creating drama than having a meaningful conversation. That's not true, Denise protests, but her voice wavers. Isn't it? Michael asks. From the moment I sat down, you've been looking for a fight. Well, congratulations. You found one, but you fought it alone. Kay Adams moves toward Michael. We really are sorry about this. I know you are, Michael says gently, and I appreciate that. But I think it's best if I go. Denise tries one more time, her voice desperate now. If you leave, it makes me look bad. Michael Caine looks at her with something that might be pity. Denise, you've done that yourself. With that, he walks off the stage. The audience doesn't know whether to applaud or sit in stunned silence. They choose silence. The camera captures Denise Welch standing there, her mouth opening and closing, clearly trying to think of something to say. Nadia Sawalha sits back down heavily. Well, that was a disaster. A disaster you created, Denise, Jane Moore says sharply. Denise finally seems to realize the magnitude of what just happened. I was just trying to ask real questions. Real questions? Kay Adams shakes her head. Those weren't questions. Those were attacks. There's a way to challenge a guest, to have a robust discussion, and then there's what you just did. Which was what exactly? Denise asks defensively. Bullying, Nadia says flatly. You bullied Michael Caine on live television. Denise sits down, suddenly looking smaller. I didn't mean for it to go like that. Then what did you mean? Jane asks. Because from where I was sitting, you came in with an agenda. The audience begins to murmur now, their shock turning to conversation. Some are shaking their heads in disappointment. Others look angry. Denise looks at the cameras. We need to go to a break. We can't just go to a break, Kay says. We need to address what just happened. What just happened, Nadia adds, is that we lost all credibility. Michael Caine is a respected actor, a gentleman, and we just chased him off our show. Denise's hands are shaking now. He was too sensitive. He was too sensitive? Jane's voice is incredulous. Denise, listen to yourself. You insulted his career, his legacy, his entire life's work. You questioned his relevance, his talent, his right to even be working. And when he very reasonably decided he didn't want to sit there and take it, you blame him for being sensitive? I was making a point about the industry, Denise insists. At his expense, Kay counters. You made your point at the expense of a guest who came here in good faith. That's not brave, Denise. That's not groundbreaking. It's just wrong. The producers are clearly giving signals now, trying to get the show under control. But the panel is in disarray. Nadia turns to the camera. I think we owe our viewers, and especially Michael Caine, an apology. What happened here today was not okay. Denise looks like she might argue, but Jane cuts her off. For once, Denise, just be quiet. You've done enough damage. The silence that follows is deafening. Denise Welch, usually so confident, so ready with a retort, sits there with nothing to say. Her face is pale now, the reality of the situation sinking in. Kay Adams takes a deep breath. Michael Caine has been nothing but gracious to this industry, to his fans, to everyone he's worked with. He didn't deserve what happened here today. None of this was supposed to happen, Denise says weakly. Then what was supposed to happen? Nadia demands. You clearly had something planned. Those questions weren't off the cuff. You wanted to confront him. Denise doesn't answer. She can't answer. Because they're right. Every single one of them is right. Jane Moore stands up. I actually think I need to take a break. I can't sit here right now. Jane, please, Denise reaches out, but Jane steps back. No, Denise. You don't get to do this, and then expect us all to just carry on like nothing happened. You've embarrassed yourself. You've embarrassed us. You've embarrassed this show, and worst of all, you've treated a lovely man terribly. The audience begins to applaud Jane's words, a slow build that grows louder. Denise looks out at them, seeming to truly understand for the first time that the room is not on her side. Kay tries to regain some control. We're going to take that break now. We'll be back in a few minutes. But as the cameras cut, everyone knows this show is over. Not just this episode, but possibly something bigger. The trust, the rapport, the chemistry that makes Loose Women work, it's been shattered. Backstage, Michael Caine is already gone. His agent, his publicist, they've whisked him away. He doesn't make a statement to the waiting press. He doesn't need to. His dignity spoke for itself. Back on the set, Denise Welch sits alone for a moment before the other panelists return. She looks at the empty seat where Michael had been sitting just minutes before. The seat that should have held a pleasant conversation, maybe some laughs, some interesting insights into a legendary career. Instead, it's a reminder of what happens when ego overtakes empathy, when the desire to be provocative trumps the responsibility to be respectful, when a host forgets that their job is to bring out the best in their guests, not to tear them down. Nadia comes back first, sitting down without looking at Denise. Then Jane, who also maintains silence. Finally Kay, who at least makes eye contact, though her expression is disappointed. What do we do now? Denise asks quietly. We finish the show, Kay says. Professionally, without any more drama, and then we deal with the fallout. There's going to be fallout, Jane adds. Massive fallout. Denise knows this. Social media is probably already exploding. The clips are probably already being shared, dissected, analyzed. She's become the villain of her own show. I really was trying to make a point, she says, one more time. We know, Nadia says, not unkindly. But Denise, there's making a point, and then there's making a mess. Today, you made a mess. The floor manager counts them back in. The cameras go live. 4 faces look out at the audience, at the viewers at home. 3 of them are trying to maintain professionalism. One of them is trying to maintain composure. Kay speaks first. Welcome back. As you saw, Michael Caine has left the show. We want to address that directly. Denise opens her mouth, but Nadia speaks over her. What happened was unfortunate. Our job as hosts is to create a space where guests feel comfortable sharing their stories. Today, we failed at that. I failed at that, Denise corrects, her voice barely above a whisper. I took things too far. It's the first moment of self-awareness she's shown, and while it's something, it feels too little, too late. Jane nods. Yes, you did. The audience doesn't know how to react. This isn't the fun, lighthearted show they tuned in for. This is raw, uncomfortable television. Kay tries to move things along. We have other segments planned, but I think we all need to acknowledge that the energy has shifted. The energy has more than shifted, Denise says, and now there are tears in her eyes. I've ruined the show. For the first time, the other. Panelists look at her with something approaching sympathy. They're angry, yes. They're disappointed, absolutely. But they're also human beings, watching another human being realize the weight of their mistake in real time, on live television. We'll get through this, Nadia says, though she doesn't sound entirely convinced. But the question hanging in the air, unspoken but understood by everyone watching, is at what cost? At what cost to the show's reputation, to Denise's career, to the memory of what should have been a pleasant afternoon chat with a cinema legend? The show limps through the remaining segments. The other guests seem uncomfortable, clearly aware of what happened earlier. The panelists try their best, but the spark is gone. Every question feels weighted now. Every comment analyzed for hidden barbs. When the show finally ends, when the credits roll and the cameras cut for the last time, the silence on set is absolute. No one knows quite what to say. The magnitude of what transpired is still settling in. Denise Welch stands up slowly. She looks at her fellow panelists, these women she's worked with, laughed with, shared so many shows with. I'm sorry, she says. To all of you. I'm truly sorry. Kay nods. We know. But sorry doesn't undo it, Jane adds. No, Denise agrees. It doesn't. She walks off the set, and for the first time, perhaps ever, Denise Welch has nothing left to say. The woman who always had an opinion, always had a comeback, always had something to contribute to the conversation, is finally completely silent. And somewhere in London, Michael Caine is probably having a cup of tea, his dignity intact, his reputation untarnished, secure in the knowledge that he handled an impossible situation with the grace and class that has defined his entire career. The lesson is clear. You can have strong opinions. You can ask tough questions. You can challenge your guests. But there's a line between being provocative and being cruel, between being honest and being hurtful, between making good television and making a mistake you can't take back. Today, on Loose Women, that line wasn't just crossed. It was obliterated. And everyone, from the panelists to the audience to the viewers at home, watched it happen in real time. What started as a routine interview became a masterclass in what not to do. A cautionary tale about the importance of respect, even when you disagree, especially when the cameras are rolling. Michael Caine walked away from that stage with his head held high. He refused to engage in a fight he never asked for, refused to sink to a level beneath him, refused to let someone else's need for confrontation diminish his decades of achievement and artistry. That's the real story here. Not that a host went too far, not that a show descended into chaos, but that in the face of disrespect, a true professional showed everyone what grace under pressure actually looks like. And that's a lesson worth remembering long after this particular episode fades from memory.